Page.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 18 pages of this 26-page local bill, the Kaipara District Council Validation of Rates and Other Matters Bill, recites the numerous things that the Kaipara District Council did wrong in setting and assessing rates in 6 years from 2006-7 to 2011-12. The bill describes the errors as irregularities. Kaipara residents, and in particular those in Mangawhai, would describe the succession of decisions that the District Council made since 2006, decisions which breached the Local Government Act 2002 and breached the rating legislation, in far stronger terms, as illegalities rather than irregularities. And it's the Mangawhai wastewater scheme which is the source of much of the problems which this bill seeks to fix. And that scheme has a very bad smell indeed. It cost more than $62 million, far more than the Council had originally proposed to spend, and far more than ratepayers were consulted on in terms of the size of the loans that the Council raised to help pay for the scheme. So it's certainly an understatement to say that there are very many serious questions around how the whole wastewater scheme was managed. And as other speakers have noted, the Office of the Auditor-General has been inquiring into the Council's management, or should it be mismanagement, of that scheme since March 2012 and has yet to report. And that report will be read with a great deal of interest, and as the bill's promoter Mike Sabin has noted, there are also a number of questions around the role of the Office of Auditor-General and its oversight of the Kaipara District Council. I've been very pleased to receive a lot of correspondence and emails from Kaipara residents, including members of the Mangawhai Ratepayers and Residents Association, and explaining why they have filed judicial review proceedings in the High Court seeking a declaration that the Kaipara District Council entered into the loans illegally and without adequate consultation, and therefore that the rates demands that it made were invalid because of this. My understanding is that the association and Mangawhai ratepayers aren't opposed to validating legislation per se, but they want it to be part of a much wider package where the lender banks and not just ratepayers are asked to help repay the Council's debts. It may not be part of the bill, as Nikki Wagner has noted, but it's also about what Phil Twyford was talking about, a fair and reasonable solution. Because I also want to acknowledge the fact that there were many Kaipara residents who sought to raise a red flag and challenge what the Council was doing more than 6 years ago. They sought to alert the appropriate authorities to engage and to act on what residents believed was poor and potentially illegal decision-making and mismanagement by the Council. So it's hugely frustrating for them that we now have this validating bill acting retrospectively, and that they also have the cost of that flawed decision-making in terms of the very large increase in rates that they are now faced with. So the Green Party has very carefully considered its position on this bill, particularly because it is retrospective legislation, and looked at it partly in terms of where is the balance of fairness. On the one hand, we've got the Kaipara ratepayers, especially those in Mangawhai, who are being asked to repay the loans which were improperly entered into and were much larger than were being consulted on, and are being asked to pay substantially increased rates because of that. And then on the other hand, we've got the many ratepayers in Kaipara who continue to pay their rates to Council, and the fact that the Council continues to deliver the services that one would normally expect of Council. So the Green Party will support this bill being referred to Select Committee so that Parliament can hear directly from Kaipara residents. And we think this is particularly important because the Local Government Minister, Chris Tremaine, has declined an invitation to meet with residents to discuss this whole issue. And as the Northern Advocate noted in March of this year, the Minister has sidestepped the ratepayers' stoush. And it's really disappointing that the Minister is doing this sidestep when in so many other instances the government has sought to intervene and override council's decision-making authority. So, Mr Speaker, we think that the legislation is needed to put the council's finances on a viable footing, but we have a number of questions and we look forward to hearing at Select Committee from residents as to whether this bill should be supported further. Thank you.
It's normally a call to another party, but I'll give it to Mark Mitchell. He's the only one seeking the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I wish I could say it was